I think for the existing dealers, it was a good thing because the original roll-up models were not successful. I'll take that back for a moment. The original Alco model was a very good one. In fact, that's where Tom Johnson started. And then those other people that got involved just didn't know. I don't want to diminish anybody's efforts in doing anything, but in my honest opinion, they really didn't understand what they were doing and the business that they were acquiring. They had a simple model, which it's producing X amount of dollars. The profit is at X point. We're going to make some investments, build it up, and then we'll sell it. Or we'll build it and sell the whole thing. So people have gone in it differently, but fundamentally the principle was, we'll build it till it's pretty large and we'll do a great job. Didn't work out that way. And it was just so ludicrous to me, as it seemed there was so many of them out there that were doing it, that the financial people who knew nothing about the business were saying, well, the days of the independent copier dealer is done. They can't compete with these large roll-up companies, which was nonsense. You ask any dealer in that era, you know, when a neighboring dealer was acquired by one of the roll-ups, and they smile and say, I love it. I say, you love it? Oh, God, yeah. He said, look, first of all, they'll get rid of all the brains that built that business. I'm sure they'll keep the sales and their service people, which are fine. But their service will deteriorate, guaranteed. And their sales will deteriorate. And those, both sales and service employees of the existing dealership that was acquired will be looking to go to work for somebody else very quickly. All of that turned out to be true. All of that. So the dealers that didn't sell made money. It was good. It was golden. And they did that for many years, all through the 80s, the 90s. And then I'm going to say in this century, probably somewhere around the turn of the century, dealers started buying dealers. There were exceptions, certainly POA, certainly Marco. I'm hard pressed to think of anyone in the 1990s that was a significant deal of buying other dealers. It's been one of the most amazing things that I've ever experienced. And I recall in 1988, Paul Shields, who was the president of CDA, and Paul and I went back years ago because he was at APICO when I was there. And I started going to their meetings in 1982. And finally, and Paul had an unbelievable way of making you feel comfortable when you went to CDA. He'd call up and he had this booming voice. Frank, yeah, Paul, what's up? I hold the phone out here. He said, need you to come down and talk to the guys. Okay, what's up? Well, you know, he said, it's getting very aggressive. Guys want to sue manufacturers, and I just want to get another perspective in here. And with these roll-ups and all that nonsense, I want you to come down. I said, okay. I scheduled. He said, and don't worry, I'll pick up all your expenses. So I went to the meeting, and sure enough, the dealers were not feeling that strongly about their relationships with their manufacturers. But by the same token, they did not feel threatened by the acquisitions that were going on, which I thought was incredible. They felt very comfortable that really, in the end, this is going to work out well for me. And it did. a lot of things have happened in this business that have surprised people, but that is one of them. And I remember a writer for the Wall Street Journal wrote a very significant piece about how successful these rollups were going to be at the expense of the independent copier dealer. And what Paul didn't tell me was they had the fellow who wrote that article at the same CDA meeting. So he went on first, and Paul didn't want me to be in the room. I guess it was a deal that he made with this guy, No Press. And I came up next, and of course he wasn't there. And the dealer started asking me questions right away about what this guy was saying. And we understand you don't agree with this. I said, absolutely not. I said, you guys have something there that you've built from nothing. I mean, you talk about those guys, particularly the early CDA members going back to 1982, there wasn't one of them that I knew well that didn't start his business out of his garage, his basement, or his car, borrowed money from mom and pop to start the business. I mean, come on. They built it right from the ground up, and it was solid. Yeah, the average revenue wasn't that great, but it wasn't bad either, and they were making a living. And they were on the boom at that time in the 80s of the plain paper copier, and then followed by what happened with fax. So by the time they went through those two cycles and then coupled that with analog to digital, and they were running away. So that was a series of events that really happened pretty much all within a decade. And it sort of quelled the argument about dealers going away.